This is the EVP Podcast. Welcome back to another episode of the EVP Podcast, everybody. I'm Ghosty.
I'm Beaker.
DVO. And it is episode 54. That's right. Already.
We've been doing this for a year.
We're cruising.
Has it really? It
54 episodes. We've
That's
only
been over a year
and
now.
that's even with missing like all of December.
Holy shit. It does not seem like it. Well, it's been a year, over a year.
That's
it really?
when we did our first episode.
Well, it has to be.
It was actually February of last year, so we've been doing this for like a year and two months.
Yep.
Yeah.
A year and 2 months. We still don't have our yacht.
Getting close.
We just started trying to get it. This isn't something new.
The haunted yacht.
We're one penny closer to our haunted yacht,
Sweet.
so we only need $299 million more.
I can't wait. It's going to be a good time. This is coming up quick.
We cruising in no time. Well, they're Mai Tais.
Oh, this is going to be a good time. All
Spooky Mai Tais.
right. So on today's episode, we are going to talk about a guy named Hans Holzer.
How about his brother Franz?
Franz Holzer?
Hans
Yeah.
and Franz?
Franz
Let
and
hit
Hans.
the pump you up
I forgot about Hans and
about the
Franz.
paranormal.
So this guy, he is the he was actually a ghost hunter before Ed and Lorraine, and I didn't know who he was the first time I heard about him.
America's first ghost hunter.
So he says.
Yeah.
But I mean, he's been around way before Ed and Lorraine. He's written tons of books. We'll get into some of those. But yeah, for me, I just barely heard about this dude when the Holzer files came out with Dave Schrader and Holzer's daughter. And
I never heard of this. This is on Travel Channel, you said?
Yeah, this is on Travel Channel.
They have 2 seasons out on Discovery Plus right now. They're working on a 3rd season.
Interesting. So it's on Travel Channel and Discovery Plus.
Yes. So yeah, I was pretty new about who he was, and after watching a few episodes and finding out, some of these things that he's done, so I decided let's do some research on the guy, shall we?
Yeah, the Holzer Files came out in like 2019, and the 2nd season I think ended like at May of 2021. So, yeah, this show's fairly recent. Like I said, they're working on a 3rd season.
So I just barely heard about the guy.
I didn't hear about him until we went to Vegas when Dave Schrader was talking about the show. I'm like, who? What?
Yeah, what are you saying weird words for?
I thought he was saying Hosen Files. I'm like,
Wait, he's speaking Austrian all of a sudden.
Right?
I'll tell you, the more as we dive into our topics, like I think I need to finally get a Discovery Plus subscription.
which
That's
is
where it's
why.
I know it seems because you guys all got like these trial subscriptions and never canceled your trials, and you're like, well, I guess I'll keep paying for it.
I keep going back to it for stuff.
It's worth it then.
That's where I got my research for the Betty and Barney Hill and Travis Walton.
I know. I think it's time to get Discovery Plus.
They've got some good shows on there. If you're into the paranormal, well, I mean, they have Food Network stuff too, but like, yeah, my whole like suggested for you is all paranormal stuff on Discovery Plus.
Oh, the ones that pop up. That
Yeah.
we suggest this for you based on your previous watches.
Yep, it's all paranormal stuff.
All right, because I was online looking at the price subscriptions because there's 2 levels, ads and no ads.
Yeah,
So I was
$5 and $7.
Yeah, so I was looking at that. I was looking at all the shows that were streaming on. I was like, oh, I actually want to see all of these shows. So I might have to get it. I think it's time to get
It's
it.
time.
All right.
I'd share mine with you, but I don't know how.
We should, it's not hard. We should start a Patreon and just have one tier, $1. So people can donate like $1 a month to us so we can get our own Discovery Plus subscription.
There we go.
And just share it between the 3 of us.
There we go.
There will be no Patreon perks.
Yeah, we don't got time for that. We got to figure out how to do TikTok first.
We gotta get this yacht too.
Yeah.
So subscribe.
So what's up with Franz and Hans?
Okay, so he was born in Vienna, in Austria.
That's a sausage.
It is. He was born in a sausage back in 1920.
In a sausage casing?
In a sausage casing. He broke out of that January 26th of 1920.
That's gross.
Just peeled it back and it slid right out like a slippery snake. But anyways, like many children, he was fascinated by ghosts.
Are kids fascinated or are they scared?
He was
Both.
fascinated. I've seen
Well,
both.
Ghosty said like most kids. I'm like, well, are most kids fascinated by ghosts?
Fascinated. You could be scared and fascinated.
It sounds like a show on Discovery Plus. Scared and fascinated.
Copyrighted right now. That's ours.
We own it.
We're gonna pitch that. I'm still it.
Like you seen that South Park where they're like, "I'm so scared."
Yes,
but that'll sound like that because I'm fascinated, but I'm scared at the same time. I'm so scared.
Fascinated.
And I'm like, email them right now. Tell Discovery Channel,
Okay.
Travel Channel, we want a show, Scared and Fascinated. Oh my god!
I do love that name though.
Just change the name of the show from EVB podcast. You were listening to Scared and Fascinated.
You gotta say it like that though. You're listening to Scared and Fascinated.
You're listening to Scared and Fascinated. I'm gonna get hate crimes for that one.
Oh man,
Hate emails.
I'm surprised you didn't write that book.
That's a good book
That
right
would
there
have been a
too.
good book.
147 books.
And he missed the gold
He
mine
missed
right
that
there.
I know. How did he not do that one? Oh man,
Because as a child, I was so scared and fascinated.
Fascinating. So, his uncle would tell him these ghost stories, and he would retell these stories in school, and then he'd get reprimanded. And the teacher ended up telling his parents, either this kid goes or I go. He's scaring me, and I'm
Like,
so fascinated.
I read there was an interview he did where he was like 4 years old doing this. He's
4?
like a preschool, yeah.
Oh.
He's got this like little yellow book, covered book, and he can't read because he's 4.
Right.
And he's pretending to read these ghost stories that his uncle told him out of this book. And it
Interesting.
freaked out the parents of the other kids because the kids were, hey, guess what we learned in school today? And the parents are like, what the hell kind of school is this?
Wait, what language was
School
it?
for witchcraft.
Well, it was Austrian, so
Okay.
it was probably in Austrian.
So what all did he study again? So he ended up going. He's a scholar. This guy.
Yeah, he says.
So he says he is,
So he says.
but he studied Japanese.
Yes.
And he
in,
studied
the
theater.
University of Columbia. I
And
believe.
ancient history and archaeology.
So he did a lot of schooling.
Parapsychology.
And
he's taught parapsychology.
He said he got a PhD in like parapsychology and like religions and stuff like that too.
Mm-hmm.
At the University of London or something like that. Some school in London.
But I guess so. With him writing all these books, he was into storytelling to really draw the audiences into his books, and he would do the same, just trying to just really elaborate things and paint pictures in your head. And so yeah, he was really into that, and you could tell by him taking these, the classes that he took and everything.
And when he did his storytelling and stuff like that in his lectures, he took a very scientific and journalistic standpoint. What the hell
Yeah,
is
that's
that?
me. That's my throat. I ate a frog earlier, and I didn't swallow it.
Like Ghosty was getting possessed over here. It's like, what the, I'm gonna call an exorcist? Oh wait,
I don't know if you could hear that on the mics, but Ghosty's throat was gargling or something. But that frog he ate was stuck in his throat.
Well,
We can hear it.
it
on
was
our-
still
on our
alive.
headsets.
I didn't know you were supposed to cook them.
So we could hear this on our headsets, but I don't know if you could have heard it on the mics. I hope you guys could hear that. What you thought? Is
I
Ghosty
know I
getting
can hear
possessed?
it, so I'm looking over at you guys.
You think there's some growling coming through the podcast?
I thought it was you. I thought you were because you make noises and shit while recording sometimes.
What do you mean I make
You
noises?
try to make spooky noises with your mouth. That's why I looked at you. That's why I looked at you. Ghosty's over here like.
I was just trying to look at you like, I'm so fascinated right now.
And I was scared.
I was scared and fascinated.
Oh God. Hey, we're all sober.
Kinda.
What were you saying?
Oh, yeah, so anyways.
What
he
was
went
your
to
throat frog saying?
something about school. He wrote all these books. And then he ended up passing away at the age of 89.
2009, I believe.
Yeah, not too
That would
long
make sense
ago.
if he was born in 1920.
Yes.
So yeah, he would have been 102
If he's alive today.
if he was alive today. And so when he would investigate, he actually did not use technology. He didn't like using any equipment, really. He just used... What did he use? I had that
A trance medium.
Yes, he would use a medium.
That's it.
Well, and like a notepad and paper and a recorder.
He would interview witnesses that experienced the activity, and then he would use his trance medium. That's all he used, other than notebooks and stuff to.
What's a trance medium?
Trance medium. Like I put you in a trance.
Oh, put him in a trance, and that's kind of almost like what parapsychology is, isn't it?
I
think so.
Don't know. You looked up the definition.
Yeah, so it's kind of sounds like that's what maybe parapsychology is. So parapsychology, I was kind of looking up what it was. It's not like the typical scientific, what you might think of like hypnosis, for example, which this kind of almost sounds like it though. This trance medium.
Well, actually, no, what we missed, but what we should have said is he actually moved to New York City when he was a kid.
1938.
So he like went to school here and all that.
He did go to college in Vienna, at the University of Vienna, and then because of Nazi occupation,
World War II.
Yeah, they left, and he was Jewish, and they left and came to the U.S. and he went to Columbia University and then taught parapsychology at I had it right here, the New York Institute of Technology. Big name schools, by the way, all three of these.
And he actually had his own paranormal experiences too. So his very first one was when he was young. He saw his mom in a nightgown. So I didn't know this, but I guess his mom passed away when he was young.
Oh, okay, that makes sense.
The first thing he described seeing a ghost of his mother in a white nightgown pushing his head back upon a pillow to prevent him from getting one of the migraines that plagued him. Huh. And then what he said was, I said, "Oh, hello, Mama," and she disappeared.
Interesting. Yep. So he goes and tells his uncle this story, and his uncle's like, "Oh yeah, want to hear some more stories?"
Oh yeah, well, wait till you hear these.
That's
You're gonna
nothing.
get fascinated,
and then you'll be scared of your mom.
You'll be scared
and fascinated.
That's interesting. Okay.
So he actually believed in reincarnation. Did you guys know about this?
Yes.
Yeah.
So he was convinced that he previously lived during 1692 massacre of Glencoe in Scottish Highlands. So yeah, he I wonder what he did. I don't know like what his role was. I didn't read anything that elaborated on that, but he was he believed in that, and he also does not believe in demons or possession, or devils or monsters.
And he's not scared at all of the paranormal or ghosts. Because he thinks they're just hanging out with us.
He thinks that everything is just a human needing help.
Yeah, they're on the other side.
The other side, that's copyrighted.
Not the upside down, but the other side.
The other side, copyrighted by Holzer.
The names that he calls spirits, what were they?
So you have the spirits, ghosts, and the stay-behinds.
The stay-behinds. So what's the stay-behinds?
Oh,
I thought that was what they called the ghosts and spirits. I thought you called them
No. There's ghosts, spirits, and stay-behinds.
Oh.
3 different things.
Yeah.
I have too many.
Stay behind sounds more like the haunting types. Were those the ones that are hauntings, or
so the spirits were like the residual
that they could try to communicate. The stay behinds were ones that were going to try to communicate and talk. So spirits talk to mediums, possibly.
Holy hell! I have like 4 websites open and I can't find it.
Well, some of the books that he wrote are The Great British Ghost Hunt, The Lively Ghosts of Ireland, Haunted Hollywood.
These are just stories?
No, these are books.
I mean, I know, but they're books of just stories he made up, or like they're from investigations. Do you know?
I don't know.
Okay.
No. Well, some of them are like the Amityville books. Like he wrote books about Amityville.
He wrote the first one he wrote was like 1977 called Murder in Amityville. Or Murder at Amityville, and that was
the first Amityville book.
No,
or the first book in general.
I think it was because there was the Amityville Horror that was written by the other guy that we talked about on the Amityville episode. Mm-hmm. He wrote the Amityville Murders. He was actually a part of the Amityville case, and he brought in his trance medium, and then he wrote this. I believe it was a nonfiction book about the Amityville, and then his book was the inspiration for Amityville 2.
Okay.
And he helped write the screen play on that screenplay.
Yeah.
He helped write the Amityville Horror 2.
And he also did other big cases, like at the Whaley house in San Diego. when we talked about that.
He did over like 1,000 cases.
And he seems to have he coined that. He's the one that called it the most haunted home in America.
The Whaley house.
The Whaley house. Because I remember when we were there, it said it on there.
Yeah.
I wonder if it says, like, if it's his quote with his name underneath it.
Right. Now I'm curious.
Yeah, now I'm curious.
Well, I'll be there in a couple of months. I'll tell you all about it.
Check it out. And then there was a barnstable house in Cape Cod, Massachusetts. And then, of course, the Amityville house, which was the most controversial case.
Okay, finally found it. A ghost, according to him, is a residual entity, like a psychic imprint left in an area that some people can pick up. Whereas a spirit is intelligent and interactive. And then the stay-behinds are relatively common, according to him. Somebody dies, and when they're really surprised that all of a sudden they're not dead, they're alive like they were. They don't understand it because they weren't prepared for it. So they go back to what they knew most, their chair, their room, and they'll just sit there. Next, they want to let people know that they're still alive, in quotations. So they'll do little things like moving things, appear to relatives, pushing objects, poltergeist phenomena, and so on.
Huh. Stay behind.
The stay behind.
Yeah. That's another story right there you could write.
That would be kind of cool. You know what he also did? He also appeared and consulted on the late 70s show In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy.
Oh.
Yep.
That was like one of the only things to watch back in the 80s, early 90s.
About paranormal.
Paranormal anything was In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy.
Yeah, this is before
Spock.
the guy that William Riker, I can't remember his name, from Star Trek Next Generation, did the Factor. Not Factor Faked, Beyond Belief.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I can't remember his damn name.
Yeah. Beard.
The bearded guy.
Beard guy. 90s, man.
Beard guy.
Also, Dan Aykroyd was obsessed with Holzer.
Yes.
Which that is what inspired him to write Ghostbusters.
Yep.
Oh. Isn't there a character named after him then? Holzer? Isn't that something in the Ghostbuster movies?
Gozer.
Oh,
Gozer?
Okay. Maybe named after Holzer.
It could be. Oh, shit. Maybe that was like a nod to Holzer. It was like, I'll do Gozer.
Yeah. What's next to H? G.
It is.
Could have thrown a Franz in there.
Well, they changed the L to Z.
Yeah.
Because it Holzer to Gozer.
Yeah.
He got rid of the L. That's what he did.
Rolls off the tongue.
I know how to spell.
Yeah, spelling's
and
easy.
read.
But anyways, what else did you find out about him? Because that's really...
He was not religious at all.
Yep.
Super not religious.
Was he, did he grow up Wiccan or...
I don't remember.
Was he Wiccan? I don't know.
He definitely
wrote books about it.
He wrote books. He also interviewed people that... he was really big into interviewing people. He wanted to know all these stories of people that had paranormal experiences. I mean, maybe he took some of these stories and then made other stories. For, those other books that he wrote.
Gave him ideas to write.
Yeah, might give him ideas,
books.
But he was obviously writing all these books, interviewing people that had paranormal experiences. Like, he was obviously very interested in the paranormal. And I don't know... He should have just done a podcast, really, if you think about it.
Yeah, starting in 1963 when he wrote his first book.
Yeah. What was he thinking dying so early?
He should have done a podcast.
That guy. In 2009?
Yeah.
That's super early.
He could have done a podcast then, even.
Yeah.
He could have. He was on one.
He was on one. Or was that even a podcast back then?
What was it?
Dave Schrader.
It was Dave Schrader's radio show.
Oh.
But I don't know if that was a podcast back then.
Like I don't know. It's on Storytime. Spotify.
So is his biggest or most known case Amityville Horror?
Yeah.
So we can talk more about that too, and talk about his contribution to it.
Yeah.
What other what was there anything else? You talked about the Whaley house, but there wasn't anything other than it was just paranormal, activity happening inside the house, and he just probably investigated that. Was there anything else that he was most known for or significant that happened with him?
He says that he coined the phrase "the other side," as well as coining the phrase
Ghost Hunter.
Ghost Hunter.
Although in 1936 there was a book that came out by Harry Price called Confessions of a Ghost Hunter. And in 1963 is when his book Ghost Hunter came out.
What would be in the book Confessions of a Ghost Hunter?
I don't know.
What would it be? So I was investigating this house, and then I took a dump in it.
In a corner.
What would you confess?
Oh, in 1936, they wouldn't have said take a dump. He said he would have said I defecated.
What a shat.
I would have shat. Yes, I shat upon the house I investigated.
The other thing that he's really known for, in 1970, he came out with a book called Psychic Photography: Threshold of a New Science.
That's a long
question
name.
mark.
Oh.
So in this book, he claims to have actual photographic evidence of spirit activity, or spirits, or ghost, or whatever he wants to call them. I know he's got a definition between spirits and ghosts, which we mentioned earlier. In my opinion, it's the same thing.
What year was this?
1970.
1970?
Yeah, 1970. These were pictures that were sent to him, and I guess he used his mediums to verify the authenticity of these photos and made a book about it. So I kind of want to get this book and show it to Brandy or Caden.
I wonder if you could just pull it up, pick the pictures online.
Probably.
Yeah, I bet we could. We have technology now. Not in the 70s, though.
No.
That's why he had to write a book.
Yeah.
He didn't just do an exclusive on Entertainment Tonight.
He did go on Johnny Carson.
He's been on a few things,
He's been
actually.
on a lot of things. Yeah. So he very adamant that when these ghost shows came out, because the interview I listened to with him on Dave Schrader's show was 2007, so 2 years before he died. In the first 12 minutes, every question that Dave Schrader asked him, his response was the same. Didn't matter what the question was. Ghost hunting tools are garbage. They should all be thrown away, and all you need is a good trance medium. I wrote a book called The Yellow Pages of Mediums or something like that lists all of his mediums that he's ever worked with. And that was literally his answer to every single question. I'm going to kind of be a little easy on him here because he was 87, 88 years old when he did this interview. But he was very against modern technology, and that the only way to truly investigate and do an investigation was to interview witnesses and use a trance medium. And that was it.
So if you would have showed up with your ghost meter and K2s, you'd be get that shit out of here.
Pretty much, yeah.
Get that bullshit out of here.
But then we'd bring Brandy in with us. He's like, yeah, that's what I'm talking about.
Right. Exactly. And so my issue with, I've never met the guy. I've never really researched him until recently. But from what I'm hearing him say in this interview, my issue is that he says he's very scientific, and he does everything that he says that you can, everything that he's written about or talked about is stuff that he can actually prove through a scientific process. The problem I have with that is in the paranormal, there really is no scientific way to prove things. I mean, I think you're more able to scientifically prove something with a EMF meter and a video camera than you can with a trance medium.
Well, I don't think you can. I don't think there's any science
to it.
I think it's oxymoron. Science and paranormal are oxymorons, right?
Yeah.
You can't.
That's why it's paranormal.
Right.
That's exactly why it's paranormal. But
yeah.
And he didn't like the term supernatural either.
Right. I saw that.
Yeah. But still, one thing is having a K2 meter on both ends of the table.
Yeah.
Both being green, meaning that there's no EMF whatsoever, and then asking his spirit to come and join you, and then one of them going off, the other not, then asking, hey, can you go to the other side of the table to set that one off, please? And then leave that one, and all of a sudden the other one start going off. That's how you can scientifically prove some shit.
Or, like you said, they're ends of the table, one's going off, and you move the other one over, and that one starts going off now, too, when they were not doing anything earlier.
Right. So, I mean, using K2 meters, things that can detect things, I think that's an awesome thing that we have and we can use.
What do you think makes those? Science!
Science! I love science.
That's where I, just kind of listening to him talk and stuff I've read about him, I kind of have to disagree. That he says he uses a scientific method, he proves everything that he can scientifically, but all the information he's got is from talking to spirits with a medium. That's like me saying I'm with Brandy, and that's how I prove everything that I've learned is because she told me so.
Right. And that's what it is then. He has a medium that's sitting there, and he's putting... So, okay, let me just make sure I understand this trance medium. Someone in a haunted house has experiences. A medium puts them in a trance, and then they communicate to the medium.
So and we were listening to part of the interview before you got here, and Dave Schrader was asking him about the difference between using a trance medium and something like a Ouija board. And he was very adamant that Ouija boards are dangerous.
Okay.
And it can lead to possession. But he doesn't believe in demons, so I don't know how that works either, because a human spirit can't take over another human body, in my opinion. But he was saying using Ouija board dangerous, trance medium not. So Dave's question was, well, isn't it the trance medium, isn't the medium inviting the spirit to take over their body so they can communicate through the medium?
Oh, so the medium's in a trance.
Yeah,
the
medium's
inside.
So basically,
house.
more or less, what this medium is doing is channeling.
And then speaking for the spirit.
Got it.
And the spirit's speaking through them. And he's like, no, they're not possessing their body. They're just manipulating their vocal cords.
Okay. And then the interviews with the people that, like, for example, live in the house, that's a separate thing. He's interviewing them. Okay.
So he was very adamant. And then we've done this with Brandy and Caden and all the other mediums that we worked with. We take them to a location, like a house, if we're doing a residential. We don't tell them any of the information we've got, because we just want them to
see what they pick up on.
Yes.
Yeah.
And see if it matches what we've already got. Right? So that's what Holzer did. He he worked with a couple different trance mediums, is what he called them. I'll just call them mediums from here on out because it's easier. But he worked with several mediums on a lot of his cases, and he wouldn't tell them, he wouldn't feed them any information. He'd just bring them into the location, say, this place is possibly haunted. What do you got? And if you watch the Holzer files, the first episode, Dave Schrader does the same thing. The medium they work with, he doesn't tell her anything about it. Okay. It was actually really cool seeing her do psychometry with a painting and giving them information about the case, and then giving them more information they didn't even know. And then when they started looking into it, they were actually able to determine, like, the stuff that she said was actually accurate about.
So the medium from the show, did you recognize her from Vegas now after you watched the show?
Nope.
Yeah, she was there.
I'm sure she was. I still don't recognize her. I recognize the dude that was with him, that Shane Cassidy or whatever his name was. But that's how he investigated. And this was his scientific approach. And all the information that he's gotten and written about the paranormal is information he's got with working with mediums. And in my opinion, there's no science to that. None whatsoever. But that's what his claim is he did everything very scientifically. And he started talking about the afterlife, how you're born with two bodies, your physical body and your etheric body. And they're both physical bodies. I think we kind of mentioned that in the one episode where the out-of-body experience episode 30, Astral Projections. How that...
You memorize every episode?
No, just that one.
Coincidentally, it was just that one.
Just that one. It's not like we tried to talk about more.
On episode 24, when we talked about...
the guru that talked about the 5 different bodies.
Oh, yeah.
So, according to Holzer, there's only 2 bodies. Your physical and your etherical body. And when you die, your etherical body is still a physical body, and it just continues going on basically about its daily routine. And he said there's even like, there is no heaven, there is no hell, because he doesn't believe in religion. He says if you believe in religion, you're wasting your time. But when you die, there's basically like a line you go to, and you're like, basically saying you're ready to go on to the next part of your life. And
the other side.
So basically the other side is like what we're currently in now, just a little bit nicer. So it's just exactly like...
You can't gain weight over there.
Yeah, that's why it's a little bit nicer. So the other side, from what I understand, more or less looks just exactly like what we see right now. Anyways, and we're just there on the other side waiting to be reincarnated.
You just get in line and...
You get in line.
You won't get out of breath either.
Getting up to open the blinds or walking up the stairs like we do. Never. That doesn't happen to us. But then there's the well of forgetfulness. And you go to the well of forgetfulness, and that erases your memory, so you don't bring all of your memories from this life or your past life into the next life.
This is what Hans said?
Yeah.
Okay.
The well of forgetfulness.
The well of forgetfulness. And he plans, in this interview with Dave Schrader, he said he doesn't plan on going to the well of forgetfulness because he wants to be the same person in the next life.
And who told him about this well?
The spirits he's talked to with his mediums.
Interesting.
So it's all scientific.
Science.
And I get, like, with every person, there's, especially famous investigators, there's the steadfast believers, there's the skeptics, and then there's the people that kind of want to be in between, like, maybe he was onto something.
So I get what he's saying, because I also believe in being able to come back and live another life over
So
and
do I.
over. So I totally get that. And this, I don't think it necessarily has to be called a well of forgetfulness.
So that's what he calls it.
I mean, it could be a mind eraser or a conscious resuscitate. I don't know, something cool.
Both sound like alcoholic drinks.
They
Mind
are
eraser
actually.
is.
But anyways, I think so. Have you guys heard about like kids who can remember their past lives?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So did those kids not go to the well then? Is he one of these kids that didn't go to the well?
Because he
Maybe.
remembers a previous life.
Yeah. Some of those are pretty interesting.
When he said when he
Yes.
was dying, before he died in 2009, he said when he dies, he doesn't plan on going to the well for forgetfulness because he wants to continue on his work and be the same person. Like I've heard stories of kids telling about how they were a famous actor from like the 30s and gave
I
all
watched
this
that
like
same thing.
the-
Yeah.
the kid gave, like,
the
all this-
address and they named his daughter and named all the like who he was married to.
the
and
movies he made and everything.
named all
and
these
they
things.
were able
This
to
kid
look
was
it up.
too
and-
young to like Google him.
Yeah, and they looked it up, and everything the kid said was accurate.
But then, like the older he got, the more he was forgetting.
Yeah.
I've heard so many stories.
I just read this, like it was like creepy stories, like creepy, just little short stories. And it was this one about a babysitter who was watching this little kid, and like, just the little kid got out of their sight for a minute, and they had to go run and chase after it. The little kid was stopped and was staring at this it was a hospital of some kind, and the kid was just staring at it in some trance, and was like, "I died there back in whatever." And he's like, "What did you say?" And then the kid just kind of snapped out of like, "What?" and just kept going and playing.
I don't know if Caden mentioned it on the episode he was
did,
on,
but
with his daughter
yeah.
being like a policeman and saying that.
Oh yeah,
daughter
that's
brings-
right.
Yeah,
I kind of remember that.
Yeah. From that episode?
Yeah,
Is that
I-
one thing you remember?
No, it was like a flash of something about that. I couldn't remember flashes of that
you went
episode.
back and listened to it.
That's why I remembered I listened to it.
And then text us everything. Oh my god, this is so cringy. I can't believe I did this. Anyways, yeah. So
Yeah.
reincarnation. Yeah, I believe in it. I believe that you can come back and live another life. I don't know. This guy, just listening to this interview, they said I want to give him a little bit of leeway because he was 88 and maybe not all there, but he just seemed very full of himself, and that he was like, to me, this is how it came across to me.
He was woke.
He was the end all be all. Like it was his way or no way. Like everybody else is wrong, he's right. Well, that's kind of what it felt like to me. And I could be wrong about that assumption.
Well, I think everyone feels that way about their opinions.
That's
This
probably,
is my
that's
opinion, and so it's right. It is
Well,
the truth.
He feels entitled to that probably because he's like the first big ghost hunter.
that I've
so-
never heard of.
Yeah, nobody ever. Well, he was out of our time.
But you're right.
Yeah, but Ed and Lorraine Warren were around the same time, and
They were
everyone's
a
heard
little
them.
after him. He started before they did.
Yeah, they did.
And
But I mean, they worked on similar cases. Like they both worked
right,
in Amityville.
and I think they were both trying to be famous at the same time. They were both trying to like get in on things. So like the Amityville, they both put themselves into it.
Yeah.
I think the way
No
the
one
Warrens,
invited you guys.
I think the way the Warrens probably blew up a little bit more is because they were very religious. They had that Catholic background,
Right, and they kept using that with
And when
demonic
you're
possession.
spitting out
and
demons, and you have another guy that's like,
Demons
oh no,
don't exist.
demons don't exist. They're all humans.
but that don't sell. Hollywood.
Exactly.
Demons sell.
Well, I mean, look at the Conjuring movies, and
Yes.
You know what's
Yes.
funny though? I've been noticing this on a lot of these shows with paranormal like investigation shows. Anytime there's like 2 scratches, 1 scratch, or 4 scratches, they're just like, oh, they just say that. But when there's 3, then they have to say, oh, that's just a demon. It's because it's 3. But 1 scratch, it's okay. 4 scratches, no, it's so bad, but it's okay. It's not till there's 3 scratches that it's like real bad. That's the stupidest shit ever.
Yeah.
The stupidest
Yeah,
shit.
we talked
stupidest
about
logic.
So I
So I do
DVO
like-
said,
I do
DVO
like how
said
he
he's like,
says
next
that
time
there's no
next time you
demons.
scratch yourself when you have an itch, pay attention, because most people you're using
Exactly.
3 fingers.
I know my pinky's weird, so my pinky kind of stays out of the way all the time. And I don't like putting my thumb in a scratch because that's awkward. So my 3's always there.
Well, it's the same with knocking and stuff. We talked about this before too, but I've kind of noticed like when I go over to someone's house and if I
Right.
don't ring the doorbell, it's That's how I knock.
Demons at the door. I'm not answering. Yeah.
It's like it's not a conscious thing I'm doing. It's just
that's a knock of the Trinity. It's a knocking of the Trinity.
Hashtag debunked.
I'm not answering that door.
So I do like the fact that he, quote unquote, did a scientific studies.
Yeah, it's kind of scientific just because he doesn't believe in demons.
And it doesn't use any equipment at all. He just uses a medium.
And an audio recorder. And paper and pen.
Pretty much. But yeah, I think they go hand in hand, like science and religion when it comes to the paranormal. I don't think you can do this type of research without both. I don't think you can just focus on one or the other.
I do it without the religion. Yeah.
That's what you think.
That's what I do.
Okay.
Because ghosts don't play that.
Amityville Horror. What did he contribute to that? Because I was reading that a lot of his photos kind of help make Amityville kind of famous because of some of the photos, but I couldn't find any photos that he took. So I was kind of looking online. I don't know if you guys saw any of those pictures or okay. Or is there any? Did you guys watch the Holzer files?
Just the first episode.
I've watched episodes on and off.
Are there any that kind of stand out to you that were like, oh, that's a pretty good episode, or that's a good evidence he got, or anything like that?
Not that I can think of off the top of my head, but okay. I do know that they've had some good evidence that I was like, oh shit, that's dope.
Okay.
But I've watched a bunch of episodes and I don't remember everything.
So the first episode, so these are all just cases that they're reopening that Holzer worked on.
Okay. Well, they're not reopening a case; they're just reinvestigating.
Reinvestigating
his or going to cases that he didn't get to go to.
So the first one is this. The first one is this house that he actually went to like 3 times over a couple decades.
3 times, you say?
Oh, is there demons in there?
Yes, according to the medium on the Holzer files. But he went there 3 times, 3 different families, all experiencing the same stuff.
This sounds familiar.
The last family, they actually found a picture of. So there was this girl that was apparently locked in the attic by her father, and then was burned alive in the attic. And they say that this girl was haunting the home and was upset because like other people were getting attention, she wasn't getting attention because she still had a story to tell. And the family that lived there in the 80s, they had this photo, and they had someone do a painting of the photo, and they hung up the painting in their house, and the activity stopped. And so Holzer was just like, this is 1985. So Holzer at this point is like, okay, this case is done. This is over with. We fixed this. In the Holzer files, Dave Schrader and his team start diving deeper into this case, and they actually talk to a historian there in Rye, New York, and says, they talked to the family that had the painting, because when they moved out of the house, they took the painting with them. The family that's been living there for the last 21 years at this time have said there's been 0 activity in the home. They haven't had any issues. And they find from the family that owns the painting that was having issues before that there was a house nearby that actually the activity started happening at this house nearby. And this house is now part of the National Registry, so it can't be torn down and all that. And to this day, this house has been having activity.
Okay.
And so when their medium came in and did her psychometry, she's touching this painting. She gave him the information about being locked in the room by her father, saying the death wasn't accidental, it was on purpose, that she was murdered, said she was burned in a fire. And this is all information that she apparently did not have beforehand. And then she started saying that the spirit has moved to a different location, at a different house. And then it was after this, that's when Dave's interviewing the family, and they mentioned how this other house started having activity. So they talked to the historian and come to find out that these 2 houses were owned by people that were cousins. So I can't remember the name of the first house. So the second house was called the Knob House, Knobb. And when they go there with their medium, she confirms that it's the same spirit, but as the investigation goes on, it's now a demon trying to hurt them.
Okay.
And the really cool thing that they showed is during the investigation, I think the guy's name is Shane. We met him. We have a picture with him. He feels like something's grabbing the back of his neck. Okay.
Okay, I remember that. Yep.
And when they're reviewing the video, he had a thermal camera pointed on the other side of the room. Now, he's locked in a closet by himself. He's the only one in there. This is on the second floor. And the thermal camera sees the window outside. He pans away, pans back, and you see a handprint forming on the window in the thermal camera. Which is kind of cool, but I think they just determined that, the spirits did move on, but there was some, like, demonic entity that was...
How did that guy get on the show?
Which one?
Shane.
I don't know.
Because, I mean, I know how Dave got on the show.
Because he's friends with Alexandra Holzer.
Exactly, and that's the daughter. But I wonder how this Shane guy got on the show.
I didn't ask him.
We should have, like, who are you and what brought you here?
What business do you have on the show?
Business do you have on the show? This is Dave Schrader. Do you know him?
He goes in shatting corners, abandoned haunted houses.
I defecated over yonder.
And that's his confession.
Yeah.
That's the first episode.
Confessions of a Ghost.
But that's basically kind of what it is they're looking at his old cases and they're reinvestigating them. And there's cases like Ghosty said that they never got to work on, or that Holzer never got to work on because he was too busy, according to you and his menage a trois.
Whoa, Beaker.
No, he had a lot of cases. I don't know what that's just something.
Of what?
Got herpes. I don't know. No. No, none of that. None of that's true. No, just he was as big as the Warrens.
Oh, really? Fascinated.
Just add not
and
Lorraine.
Scared.
Oh, God. So a lot of people are reaching out to him. Hey, can you look into this? So obviously one person can't do all of it. I'm sure there's cases the Warrens had to turn away too because they were busy writing books and movies. Right.
I'm sure they get a lot of like requests from people just, hey, I got woken up at night. I heard a noise. You should come check it out.
I'm sure that happened too. So yeah, the Holzer files, they get to go through cases that he never actually got to investigate too.
I better check it out then.
It's so far I've watched one episode. It's pretty good.
And you'll continue watching?
Yes. I've watched a few episodes and I put it on in the background. It's pretty good.
Okay.
Yeah. But all right, should we call that one? All right, guys. Thanks for listening. Go see Don't Play That.
Peace out, butterflies.
Scared and fascinated.
This is the EVP Podcast.
How do you know what a butt plug looks like?
How do you not know what a butt plug looks like or feels like? Watch, I'll play my butt right now and tell you exactly what it feels like.
Plug it. Plug it now.
He also can... No.
Plug it.